Welcome to the Utah Home Builders Association podcast. I'm Jessie. I'm here with Ross Ford. Ross, I have a couple of questions for you today.
Good.
The first one, what does a home builder do?
Well, they've been accused of doing a lot of hunting and never getting to the job on time. But no, so what a home builder does, God, I don't know. I would compare him to a coach or a conductor of an orchestra. Back in the day, forever ago, and when I started, it wasn't uncommon that the home builder would do a lot of the work. Now,
That's what I would assume they did.
Yeah, now the home builder, the general contractor, they more organize a team, and everybody specializes in what they do. And so the home builder needs to know everything that's going on to make sure what the different specialty contractor is doing is done right. More importantly, they need to know when it needs to be done. They need to organize it and schedule it and get it all put together. They also spend a ton of time just doing paperwork. Anymore, it's become super complicated on the paperwork to make sure all the financing's in place. The process to get a home all designed and ready so that it can go through the city and meet all of its approvals is very complicated. It will take weeks, months to get plans to where they will be accepted by a city so you can build them. So they have to do a lot of planning, a lot of scheduling, and then they get out on the job as much as they can. Most builders love to be on the job, but they don't get to do it as much as they like or as much as they used to.
Sounds like I'd prefer the old days when they didn't have to be buried in paperwork.
I certainly did. I loved when I first started building, that's what I did. I was there from the minute we dug the hole till we turned the keys over to a homeowner. And I liked it. I liked being involved with every aspect of it. Very, very few builders do that anymore. You can't be competitive.
What is the process of building a home nowadays?
So and I guess they all kind of follow the same process. Obviously, you're going to have a different process if you're a production builder. So if you're a builder that builds a whole bunch of homes that are very similar in size and shape, and you just go in and say, okay, I'm going to pick this, is different than if you're building a custom home where you sit down with a homeowner and they get to pick. So let's talk about the custom home first. So on that, the process is, a lot of times the homeowner will have a lot. They will have found the lot that's their most perfect lot. This is where I want to live. This is beautiful. And then they go get a home designed. And if they're doing it right, or what I believe is the most effective way, they involve the contractor at that point. So the contractor, the homeowner, and the designer or architect sit down and talk about what do you want as a homeowner, what will fit on this lot, and how do we build the home. Now, the reason you want the builder is because the homeowner has a huge wish list, and the worst thing that has ever happened to builders is the internet and all of the pictures we can get on Instagram and everything else. And they show up with all these pictures of all these amazing things we want to do. Some of them are feasible, some of them aren't, but we sit and start looking at them and go, okay, how do we plug that into the house? And the designer starts taking all of those bits and pieces and putting them in, knowing that it has to fit on the lot, has to work. The contractor is going to sit and look at it and say, you can do that if you want, but that's really expensive. What if we did it like this, get you the same effect, and for half the price?
Sounds good.
So we want the contractor
Yes.
there. So that process of what they do is important. Once you get the design, then they go get that through the city, get the city to approve it and say, yeah, we will allow that to be built here. And then they go to work. First thing you do is you dig a hole, and they have to figure out what the size is and lay it out, make sure it sits on the lot right. They dig a hole, put in their footings, get the plumbing started, anything that's electrical underground, and then they just start coming up. The next thing is the framing, which is the big one. That's where you see the house. That's the ones that are kind of the house builders, is the framers. You can see they've been there. And once it's framed, then there's a whole lot of details that most people don't see and they don't understand, but they're critical to the home. So how you seal the house off so water doesn't get in. And it's really, really important how the windows are installed, how they're sealed, what they call flashing, so that the water doesn't run in, because water becomes the biggest enemy. If you don't have any water, you never have mold. So
Yeah.
we hear about mold all the time. It's like, oh no, mold's a big problem. If there's no water, there's no mold. And you have to figure out how that's going to work, how the insulation works, so that just how the insulation is placed can cause moisture to come inside the wall.
Oh, wow.
So there's super critical things that the builder has to know and what they do, and then they just work through it. They get the sheetrock in, they come in and do all the finishes, work with the homeowner, make sure we get all the colors in the cabinets and all of the pretty stuff that matters to the homeowner. And it is the fun part. And so that's kind of the process they go through it. So on what we call a production home, it's kind of the same thing, only you don't have a homeowner. Then the general contractor usually just says, look, here's the home I'm going to build. And they already have figured out what is the cheapest way to do it. And a good example is sometimes we say, well, in this room's going to be 12 foot 6 inches wide. Well, you can get your carpet at 12 foot. If you have to put a 6-inch seam in it, you just cost yourself hundreds of dollars. And so they go, no, we're going to change this room. This room's going to be 12 or whatever it may be. But that's the kind of things they look at, and a little bit at a time, they can save thousands of dollars. But they still have to go through that same process of getting it through the city and then just start and build up through it.
Are those what's referred to as cookie cutter homes?
Some people call them that. Yeah, and it's because they produce them over and over and over and over and over. Sometimes it annoys me when I hear that, because it's almost said derogatory, like, oh, that's a terrible home. And they're not. They're still usually very well built. It's just that in order to get the economy of scale, they do the same thing multiple times. So everybody that's working on it, that you'll see some of the specialty contractors will come onto one of these homes and they don't even have to get the plans out. They've built it enough times that they can do it for memory, which saves time. Time is money. So if they can shave a day or two off, it shaves $1,000 or $2,000 off the cost.
That's impressive.
So, right. So yeah, I guess cookie cutter is a fair term, but I don't think it's a bad term. It's just one of the money saving options.
I like saving money. What about a manufactured home?
So a manufactured home, and I think we're going to see more and more of those. A manufactured home, and what we have now too is manufactured parts, but a full manufactured home is where we build the home offsite. So you still have to dig the hole and put in the footing and foundation at the site, but all of the rest of the home is built in a factory somewhere, which gives you all kinds of benefits. Because now we have a very controlled environment. So we can control the waste. We can have whatever that lumber needs to be is cut exactly to the right size. The wiring, the plumbing, everything is so close to exactly what you need. And then it's in this controlled environment. So you're not dealing with weather. You're not dealing with material being trampled into a muddy area because we have bad weather that day. It's all in this one place, and the waste from one building probably can be used in the next one. So they go through and produce them. It also, like when they build the walls and everything, in some of the manufacturing, well, a lot of the manufacturing places, it's all computerized. So everything's cut exactly right, exactly square, put together and held tight and then nailed. And it gives you, in houses, you hear it settling, or you'll see a little crack in the sheetrock and it's like, yeah, it settled it. You get a lot less of that in a manufactured home because everything is really, really tight. So you don't get the settling. And then you move it to the lot and you assemble it. It used to be a manufactured home looked like a double wide trailer. You brought two pieces in, you put them together and kind of stitched them together and went, there's your house. Anymore, they are pretty creative with what they do with them, and they look pretty good. So some of the manufactured home places are doing multi-story apartments.
Oh, wow.
Things like that, so they can bring them out and do it. So I think we'll see more and more of that, just because it will reduce the waste and hopefully at some point increase the savings that we can do.
That sounds great. Well, we think that everyone deserves a house, and let's break down the barriers.
I told you my mic was syncing.